Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, last fight went well. Did you see it?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
jump straight back into training afterwards?
So pretty much. So the first fight was how long ago now? About 4 weeks ago, at the end of September, and so obviously it went well, went my way. And when I got back, I took a few days off, really just for the mental side of things, you know. But injury wise, I had literally zero injuries. So I just said to the coach, I said I'm looking to go again really as soon as I'd like to get one more in for the end of the year. So after about another week or two of training, and he was like, I have one for December. So pretty much no break. I'd say maybe a week in total, and then jumped right back in, and now we're back on for the 4th of December for the last fight of the year. So looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bit difficult, like to say. Obviously, you got the back at the end of that fight, and you've got the
Yeah.
choke. But I felt like the camera was on your back right at the end there. We couldn't quite see. Were you able to get your arm under his neck, or how did he finish that choke at the end?
Yeah, no, that was a good one. I felt there was a camera angle from the front which looked way better. You could see much more of it in the highlights, but at the time it could really just show it showed us from the back. So when I scrambled around and I ended up on the back, we were about here. I had one hand sort of around his neck, but I knew I couldn't finish with one hand, so I hit him with one or two shots. And then I felt the chin sort of pop up, which always happens with me, you know. And then I was able to slide the second arm in, and by then I just knew it was over, you know. It was just a matter of squeezing, and like he was a tough lad, so I knew he was gonna be tough, and he held on for longer than I thought. I was sort of like halfway through the squeeze, I was wondering, you know, is this fella gonna tap, you know? But it came at the end. It was always gonna come, you know.
Yeah. It was a crazy scramble because obviously, like, he was on your back, and then he came off and he was straight back onto it. It was a crazy transition.
Yeah. Again, I can't say it was anything that I had planned, that this is what I'm gonna do. You know yourself, it's just when you're in a fight and it's crazy back and forth with the scramble. So it really just sort of happened. Jumping the back is the thing that I like to do, but like it doesn't always come from that situation. I sort of do it from anywhere. So I just felt myself coming around to the back, and I was like, let's jump it. So yeah, worked out well for me. I think up until that point it was very back and forth. I think he probably got the first round because he came out very fast, and he was landing that left hand a few times on me. But like if you watch the fight, like by about halfway, maybe 3 or 4 minutes into the fight, I sort of made that adjustment, and I was able to avoid that left hand then. And I think I was really coming into it in the second round, and then I slipped on that kick, but ended up on the back at the choke. So happy out. Liam's a great fighter. You know, he was a tough opponent for me, probably my toughest challenge to date. You know, so I was delighted to get that one in, and I wish him all the best in the future as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a great win for you because obviously Liam coming out of next gen with all the lads from there doing so well at the minute. I feel like you were maybe a bit of the underdog coming into it, but
absolutely. Like I knew straight away once I heard it was next gen. You always know that you're in for a tough fight with them lads. You know, they've got a list as long as your arm, you know, in terms of good fighters coming out of that gym. So I knew it was going to be a tough fight. I knew that going in, and then after it was just like, you know, I was correct. Like, you know, I had a tough challenge in front of me, got it done, and happy out.
Yeah. Obviously, you've spoke a little bit before about your background in Taekwondo and stuff. Can you say how you what your motivation was from transitioning from Taekwondo to MMA, and how you sort of made that transition?
Yeah, so we started. Me and my brother. I have 2 older brothers actually. We started in Taekwondo, and we did that for a long time, and from there transitioned into kickboxing. And I used to do the both of them alongside each other because they're very similar sports for anyone that doesn't know. So I did both. I did Taekwondo and kickboxing for a number of years, and then I think I got to I think it was about 21 at the time. I just turned 21, and I'd won a major tournament in Taekwondo, and it had been on my mind for a while. You know, I'd been watching the MMA events, and obviously with Conor McGregor over here, you know, MMA was booming. So, you know, I had a lot of people ask me, would you ever give it a try? Would you ever think about doing that? So it had been on my mind for about a year or two previous, and I was looking for the right time. I was saying, maybe after this competition I'll start, after this and after this. And I kept just pushing it back, and I was like, look, if I'm ever going to do it, it just has to be now. So then I started MMA in November 2017. So I'm pretty much at it about 4 years now. So and then like literally after my first day, I joined in Team KF, like, and I did one session there, and I knew that this is where I wanted to be forever. Like, so I just sort of stopped competing taekwondo and kickboxing straight away, and just put all my time and effort into that, into MMA.
Yeah. My taekwondo knowledge is admittedly lacking quite a bit, but I see you using the
Right.
side kicks quite a bit in your
Yeah.
fight, sort of like manage range.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. That traditional side is a part that I've taken with me since day one, because my coach Chris Fields, like, he's a great coach, you know, and he was a fighter himself for a long time, and he always said that he doesn't want us to lose that traditional side of it, you know. So he wants us to keep our sort of base that we came through with, and then just add things on from there. So, you know, he doesn't want to change our style completely. He just wants to sort of modify it and add to it, if you get me.
Yeah. You see, a common thing for a lot of your fights is that a lot of lads trying to take you down. But that seems to be their game plan for a lot of your fights. But you always seem to spring back up again.
Absolutely. Like, so that was obviously the one thing, you know. It was like, all right, the first thing that I sort of have to get in check is the ground game. So, like, I I doubled down and spent a lot of time doing jiu-jitsu and wrestling. And it's funny now, it's almost after sort of having the opposite effect, where like you seen in my last fight there, sometimes I will definitely go and use it offensively instead of just trying to stay on the feet. You know, I'm at a comfortable level now. I'm with my grappling, where, you know, I feel like I can take anybody down, or I can feel I can submit anyone, you know. So it's just one of them things now where it's after almost going full circle. And you know, I think that's a credit to the coaches that we have here in Team KF, you know.
Yeah. How did you find the grappling coming from a striking background?
Yeah, obviously it was a bit alien at the start, you know, and it's never nice when you have young kids like submitting you and things like that, you know. But it's just one of them things where, you know, you have to drop the ego, you know. And it would have been easy for me to be like, oh, like, I'm a world champion in another sport, you know, and not really like that. But to be honest with you, it was actually quite refreshing becoming a beginner again. I loved every step of the process, you know, getting to where I am now. And for anyone that maybe has doubts about doing it, like, if they said they didn't want to, I'd just say to them to give it a try, you know, because it's actually a lot of fun. I really enjoy the grappling. Yeah.
Still prefer the striking there.
Probably, yeah. I'd say it's maybe 50-50 now. Like, I'm almost fully converted, like, you know, but I still don't know which one I prefer. Sometimes I'm just like, I want to go back to my striking roots a bit, you know. Absolutely, I feel that some days. But I'd say it's about 50-50 now as to which one I prefer.
Yeah. Obviously, upcoming fight in December, cage conflict. What do you reckon to this matchup?
Yeah, so it's a good one. I'm fighting an Italian guy. I don't know a whole lot about him, to be honest with you. So me and my brother are fighting on the same card together. So that's always cool. You know, we'll get a nice gang of people up to that, you know. And so we're both fighting Italian. So it's sort of like Ireland against Italy, you know. So I'm really looking forward to that. He's had a good few fights. He's more experienced than me. But I just feel that, again, you know, like, when I get in there, like, it's sort of just find my groove. I'm not a silly power puncher. I haven't got a whole lot of power, but I just find, like, I sort of have this thing where I wear on lads, you know. So I see myself getting to finish maybe second round, early third round, somewhere along those lines. TKO or so, we don't know. We'll have to find out for that.
You're saying he's the more experienced fighter. What do you see yourself bringing to counter against that?
So, like, basically, I have a funny one on this. I think experience, it can only get you so far, really, you know. Like, so experience is good, but at the end of the day, it's majority of it is down to the skill set. So if my skill set is more superior to this guy, which I think it is, I think that the experience isn't going to have too much of a factor. I think that only plays a part when both people are evenly matched. I think we probably are evenly matched, but I just think my skill set is just a bit superior than his. So he can be as experienced as he likes, you know. I don't think it's going to help him here. And, like, you know, another thing that I say is, fair enough, I haven't had a bunch of MMA fights, but, you know, with taekwondo and kickboxing, I tried counting it the other day. I have about 260 and 270 mat kickboxing and taekwondo fights, you know. So when it comes to experience, you know, no one knows better than me than getting in the ring and fighting, you know. So I'm very good at that part. And the MMA might still be a little bit new in, but I'm getting there, you know.
Yeah, because all them previous kickboxing fights, are you not one
Yeah.
to feel the pressure then when you're stepping into the cage?
Yeah, like I find that, yeah, that's an interesting one. Like always, for any fight, there's going to be a bit of pressure on you, you know. And like it's not that anyone else puts on me; it's what I put on myself. You know, I always expect to go in there and win and perform really well and put on a flawless performance. And whenever that might not happen, like I'm almost like, you know, I'm always my worst critic. Like even after the last fight there, I was saying, you know, the first thing that I went to was, oh, I got hit with that left hand a few times at the start. But, you know, so that I'm probably never going to be happy with my performances, but that's just something that I have to accept. But yeah, in terms of pressure, there'll always be a little bit of pressure, but it's the same for everyone. Once you get in there, it all goes away, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously you bounced around promotions a little bit in the
Yeah,
past.
yeah, been floating around,
yeah. Are you trying to make yourself at home a little? Do you see yourself fighting again on Cage Warriors in the future, or you're just gonna keep bouncing around a little bit?
Yeah. So this cage conflict one, it came up first really. So I said I wanted to do it. Like I like fighting in Ireland, you know. But next year definitely I'd love to go again with Cage Warriors. The show in September, that was my first time fighting with Cage Warriors, and just the whole experience of it was unbelievable. You know, they really I always find they look after their fighters really well. The show, all the people working there, I just, you know, like I felt at home there, to be honest with you, you know. And I said to Chris after, I said I'd definitely like to, you know, if the opportunity ever came next year, something like that, I would like to sign with Cage Warriors. So I'll probably have this one in December, and then the plan would be to hopefully get on Cage Warriors in the new year.
Yeah, obviously just trying to be as active as you can then.
Yeah. I want like 6 fights a year, like, you know. I never usually get it, but like, yeah, I want to fight yesterday. Do you know what I mean? I'm always wanting to fight. So yeah, 3 this year, like I was happy enough with that. But like if you look at, like, I had no fights for the first half of this year. I had my first fight in June, and then I was on again September, and now I'm on again December. So ideally I'd like every 2 or 3 months, you know, if I had my way, that's what I'd get, because I never seem to come out with any bad injuries after the fights. Obviously little niggles here and there, but nothing that would stop you from training. And another thing, I just love competing. So, you know, and I always think there's going to be
obviously the pandemic there recently sort of, I'm sure, put in plans.
Yeah, so that was a real spanner in the works. So in 2020, I got one fight in at the very end of the year. Sorry, I got one fight in at the very end of the year in December. So that was good to sort of scratch the itch a little bit for me. And then, so if this year I can get 3 in, you know, at least then I'm definitely not the worst off. I know there's some people in a worse situation than me, where with the pandemic they haven't gotten any in at all. So, you know, I feel more for them people, you know, and I actually consider myself quite lucky that I've been able to get 1 in every here or there, you know.
Yeah. Saying you felt quite at home at Cage Warriors. Is your goal to climb through them ranks then?
Absolutely, yeah. So next year, you know, I'd like to get with Cage Warriors again and start working up that featherweight division. You know, I watched the fight. It was the day after me on the trilogy. Paul Hughes and Morgan Charrier. You know, did you see that one?
Yeah.
Like, that was a brilliant fight. Like, you know, unbelievable. I've seen Paul a good few times. You know, he's from up Northern Ireland direction, and yeah, he's very good. You know.
Yeah,
so,
the atmosphere there just looked insane.
Oh, it was unbelievable. It looked great. Now, I had come home, you know, I flew home on the Friday morning, but I watched it when I got home, and I was like, you know, that's where I want to be, and that's where I want to start working towards. You know, that's the goal eventually, you know. So I'm not there yet, but I'll get there.
Yeah. Must be an incredible feeling having all your friends and family from back home coming to support you as well.
Yeah. So that'll be another thing now next year, you know. Obviously things seem to be really getting back to normal. So next year, like, let's say if I'm in London, Manchester, Liverpool, wherever it may be, you know, bring a few people over, get the bit of support. That always helps, you know, that adds to it. So I'll enjoy that.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about saying about pandemic and stuff, putting a stop to some of your training, but obviously with your brother and stuff, sure you're able to keep that going a little bit.
We kept busy, all right. Yeah. When the first lockdown happened over here in Dublin, so obviously all the gyms were closed. So we were very lucky in that regard that we were able to train every day. You know, we were always doing something, bit of sparring, grappling, whatever it may be. Now, even after that, after a few weeks, you get bored of seeing the same face and training with the same person every single time. There's nothing like that variety of sparring partners. So then we were able to open in like really small groups. just the professionals trained together. Even though I wasn't professional, I was near thereabouts. So we were training in smaller groups then. So that definitely helped. And then just as things started getting better, the groups got bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's another thing, like, you take for granted, you know, when you show up to your gym and there could be 20 people on the mat, you know, and you just take that for granted. And it's only when that was taken away from us where you're like, geez, you actually really miss it. So if there's one thing, if there was a silver line in it all, it made you like appreciate the things that you have, you know.
Yeah. It's great to see all the local shows reopening with
Absolutely.
it and stuff. At the grassroots level, MMA coming back again.
Big time. Like I seen in the UK, you guys are busy out, like Budo's coming back, Celtic Gladiator, all them. They're great shows, and especially for building the amateur scene and the early pro scene. So it'll be interesting now to see next year what new fighters emerge. Like I'm one of them, you know, like I never fought pro before this year. So I'm pushing on, and there'll be plenty of others in the UK pushing on. So we'll probably all end up fighting each other next year. So I reckon next year is going to be like a big year because you're going to see a lot of new faces and maybe a little bit of change of the guard in terms of the scene in UK and Ireland. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, like you were saying before, like relatively speaking, it wasn't that long ago you had your first amateur fight.
Yeah.
Does it feel sort of crazy the amount of progress you've made since that first amateur fight up to now?
Absolutely, it's been fast. Like, so I had my first amateur fight in March 2019. So I'm not even into it 3 years, you know. So
that was on Cage Conflict as well, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah. So it's like I'm coming full circle back to Cage Conflict now. I'm looking forward to that. So it's funny, like, even though it's been 2 years, 2.5 years, when I look back on them fights, I'm like, wow, like, you know, like the amount of how inexperienced I was, you know. And the goal is that in 2 years' time, I'm going to be looking back at these fights and thinking the same thing. So it's, you know, once you're always progressing, that's the most important thing, you know. So, and you never really see it at the time. It's only when you look back at maybe an old fight and you're like, Jesus, was that me? Like, you know. So I suppose it's a good sign in a way that I'm sort of cringing at my old fights, but it's all good.
Yeah. Now I'm hoping to get this win in December, mate. It'd be a great way to round out the year for you.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'll be rounding out the year now 3-0. Hopefully with 3 stoppages as well. You know, I never like leaving.
Not a bad start at all.
Yeah, and I think the 3 5-minute rounds only helps me more, you know, because not that I'm a slow starter, but like I have an effect on people the longer the fight goes, you know. So I feel like as it comes into the second round, third round, just like most of these lads won't be able to hack the pace, you know, that I set on people. So with amateur, it was 3 3-minute rounds. So sure, I had a few decision wins as there, but I feel as pros for 15 minutes, it's going to be hard to go the whole 15 minutes for me, I think.
Yeah, I've heard at amateur level, the 3 minutes, it's more of a sprint because you've only got to suffer one takedown and be stuck on your back. And then it's rounds over before you know it.
Spot on. If you lose the first round, like you put yourself in deep shit, like, you know, because you're 1 round down and you only have 6 minutes to work. Whereas pro, you can settle in a little bit more. The 5-minute rounds are a little bit longer. That being said, when I started doing 5-minute rounds last year, I was like, wow, these are long. You know, you take for granted how long they're quite different from 3-minute rounds. But once I made the adjustment, you know, I've actually really grown to like them. I much prefer the 5-minute rounds now as opposed to 3.
Yeah. You didn't look to be lacking though in cardio in your last fight.
No,
longer rounds.
There's one I can go all day, like, you know. Absolutely, that's one thing that I have in the bank, like, you know. And even like if things aren't going my way, like I'll be in your face pushing through, and I can go all day. Got cardio for days.
Yeah. Nah, I appreciate you talking to me, mate. I'm best of luck to you in December.
Thanks a million, Joe. All right, thanks for having me on.